thanks to all of you who stayed through the break so that you could be here to hear our guests. In the 6th District, there's a Libertarian candidate running against Bob Goodlatte. His name is Will Hammer, and he drove all the way from Harrisonburg to see us, so give it up.
How y'all doing today? Thanks for having me. I'm sorry I was late. Like I said, I had to drive from Harrisonburg, plus there's a wreck on 581, so thanks for staying around. I just want to talk a little bit about my campaign. As you know, Bob Goodlatte is the 6th Congressional District Congressman. So he's been around for going for his 12th term now. And if you remember back in '92, he actually one of the people that signed the contract with America, which was, one of the parts was 6 terms. So you can see once you go to Washington, you don't really like to keep your promises. So definitely, just on that note, I really like for y'all to think about that. And also, the great thing about my race is that there's no Democrat. No Democrat in the race. So it's actually a really good opportunity. You're not going to feel like you're going to be voting for the lesser, you have to vote for the lesser of 2 evils. So it's a really great opportunity because you don't have to worry about putting votes off to Democrats. So if you vote for me, then it's actually a really good opportunity to send a message to Washington, to the Republican Party, whatever you want to send it to, that we're tired of business as usual in Washington, tired of the establishment, and I'll champion for real change once I get up to Washington. Real meaningful budget change, deficit spending, I want to end that. I'm not going to play lip service for it. I actually want to go through and really champion various amendments to the Constitution for a budget balanced budget and the stop budget or deficit spending. Goodlatte's voted 13 times to raise the debt limit. He might talk about being a constitutional conservative now because it's pretty in vogue, but that's usually the people who wave that flag the loudest, or the most proudly rather, are the people that really aren't constitutional conservatives. So I actually give you an option, be constitutional conservative. I want to limit the government. I wanted to abolish as many departments as possible. I have, in the rush in here, I kind of left my notes. So I do have a few departments that I was actually talking about, like abolishing or definitely cutting substantially. Department of Education. Spending's gone up in the last decade and a half, and yet scoring and performance has stayed flatline. Throwing money at something does not fix it. So definitely like to abolish that, or definitely at least cut as much as possible. Department of Commerce, it distorts markets. We have Department of Agriculture. Not many people talk about that, but it spends a lot of money. And of course, Bob Goodlatte is a big ag congressman. All those corporations, they distort money, distort the markets. You have subsidies to corn and all these other commodities, and it raises your prices. It raises your food prices, so it makes your cost of living substantially higher. And there's just so many. There's the Department of Urban Housing and Development. That's another. It sounds great in theory, but it actually really does not help people as it's actually meant to help. I don't think most of these departments are put in to be bad. I think they have good intentions, but the result is that it's not good. So there's just so many. I have this plan where I actually cut, saves U.S. households an average of about $3,600 per year, just abolishing, I think it's like 7 departments. And what you can do is take that money, put that in a Roth IRA or any other type of sure return investment, where you get about 6 or 7%, and you actually can opt out of Social Security and be able to actually make more, double of what you would get from Social Security. So it allows people to opt out of pretty much a broken system. My generation, we're not going to see that. So I definitely want to keep Social Security for people that have paid into it for all their life. But people like me, I'm 27 years old, I want to be able to opt out. So I want to be able to have people opt out, be able to go to private retirement investments. So Also, I mean, even if you just cut across the board 17% of the projected expenditures this year, then we would balance the budget. Just 17% across the board. And you can't, we talk about the discretionary spending, you got to talk about the big three. You have Social Security, Medicaid and Medicare, and also military budget. The military budget's very bloated, and most of it's just spent just to feed the military-industrial complex. Not really much, they call it defense, but it's not really much defense, more offense. And you can see with ISIL, our foreign policy has caused a lot of these issues that we actually have. ISIL actually came up from us backing rebels against Syria. And so what happens, this always happens, we back somebody, and then, 5 years, how many other years down the road, we're fighting them again. We funded them, we armed them, we backed them, whatever the case may be, and then we're fighting them. We need to realize that our foreign policy creates blowback, creates unintended consequences. We can't be the policeman of the world. Can't afford it, and it just causes more problems than it solves. When you create more terrorists, you create more terrorists. Bomb countries. Just imagine if another country, there's an extremist group out somewhere in America, and they bombed, them. Would we be pretty upset? I'd imagine so. And so we create terrorists. We create our own problems. We feed into it. And so going into Iraq, we spend about $1 trillion, and that's not including caring for vets down the road, which is another issue, with the VA. And it just causes it's just a cycle where we just keep feeding, and so we just got to stop the cycle. I know ISIL's a terrible thing. We have a lot of people, innocents there, but we need to just decide when we're going to stop the cycle. So I'm a non-interventionist. Definitely like to stop bombing, drone strikes, stop invading countries, stop backing rebels, because then we're fighting them and we got to worry about terrorists. And also, privacy issues are huge for me. NSA, I definitely like to abolish that. Definitely at least curb the power as much as possible. Goodlatte, he plays lip service to that. He backed the USA Freedom Act, which when it first was conceived, it was pretty good. It was Justin Amash, Thomas Massey, some good players in Congress. But once everybody got their hands on it, it got gutted. And so it wasn't exactly the same. Even Justin Amash came out, who's the person who sponsored it, brought it up. And he said he can't vote for it because it's so gutted. It doesn't really do anything. And then Goodlatte actually championed against the Massey Amendment, which would actually put a little bit more bite back into it. So you can see Republicans, Democrats, they're all the same. They play games, they go up there, backroom deals, and if you really think that Republicans are a better choice, then you're not really paying attention to how we got here. Both of them are bad choices. We need to actually pick third-party candidates. We need to actually back third parties. Like I said, my race is a great opportunity because you don't have to worry about the lesser of two evils. But also, I want you to be able to back Robert Sarvis. If we get 10%, then we get major party status. So that allows us to get on state-level elections much more easily. Believe me, I had to go petition. Ron knows. I had to go petition. Half the battle is just getting on the ballot when you're not a major party. Democrats and Republicans only need one signature from their state chairman. I had to get 1,000 confirmed. I got about 1,700. Had an 80% validity rate. I busted my butt for about a month every weekend. Some days 15 hours. So it's a barrier to entry, and it's a shame because it doesn't allow people to have choice. So, and also, I want to end the drug war. And I know it may not be a very popular thing here, but you need to look at it. It costs a lot of money. It costs a lot of money. It's an unwinnable war. We're never going to be able to win the drug war. It's 40 years we spent, I think, like $1 trillion enforcing this. And we're not going to win. Prohibition of anything will never succeed. People are going to get it one way or the other. It just causes a lot of unintended consequences. If you want to talk about the border issues, a lot of it stems from the drug war. You have coyotes and you have the cartels. I think it's like 50,000 people have died since 2007 near the border from cartels and other drug war related fights and whatnot. And then you also got to go into medical research. Medical marijuana and other drugs as well are very beneficial. They actually show ALS was pretty popular recently. It actually helps ALS people, epilepsy. There's certain marijuana strains that can actually really benefit people. And there's even other drugs, marijuana, and also other drugs that can help with PSTD. So they're not on these pharmaceuticals, 50 million pills. And it's really a shame that we spend so much money on peaceful people trying to just consume something or partake in something. As long as you're not harming anybody, you really shouldn't, just leave them alone. And so yeah, I really hope that y'all think about voting this November and voting third party. I really appreciate if y'all have your vote this November. It's a great opportunity, like I said, to send a message to the Republican Party, the Washington establishment. And do we have time for any questions? Or I'll take any questions.
Yeah, I got a couple for you. First of all, great job. I think you could almost brand yourself as a departmental hammer. I like the way that would play out with your last name. ISIS grew out of the effort of men who were freed from Guantanamo Bay by the administration, and it grew in a power vacuum left in Iraq by the troops that the administration has pulled back. Are you willing to talk to or take the current administration to task about some of their actions? Also, the Iraq war, it costs less than Obamacare, and Obamacare is a failure by every one of their own measurements. Are you willing to talk to them about that and hit them on that?
Well, definitely, I'm against Obamacare, but the war, not just money. Wars you look at more than just money and treasure. I think it's 4,500 servicemen that we lost over in Iraq.
Right, great point.
Over 30,000 injured, and then over 100,000 citizens, innocent citizens over in Iraq. They're people too, and they died. It's because they're, collateral.
One of the other things I wanted to bring up about Iraq is that we've had a terrible turn with this war during this administration. I mean, we were, no matter what people say about it, we were kind of winning it until we decided to start pulling back. It's been terrible for our troops since this administration has taken over. The funding, the weapons that they're getting, the armor that they're getting, it's all worse under the current administration. These are the words of troops. So are you willing to take them to task on that?
Well, I don't think we should have gone to Iraq anyway. And I was actually halfway excited about Obama because he actually talked about transparency and bringing troops home. Of course, he didn't do that. I wasn't pleased with his social or his economic, but I was excited about that because I don't like the idea of war. I'm a non-interventionist. I'm a peaceful person. War, you get a lot of dead people, and you get a lot of money, and it's a bad situation. I think we should have pulled out as soon as possible. We've already lost the war. There's no winning that war, and we just create more and more issues. We create more and more terrorists, and it's just down the road. We just keep building it up, and that's why you
think
see
that there were no terrorists there before we started fighting this war?
I'm not saying that it just started when we started fighting this war. Terrorism stems from World War I when we essentially made these ethnic and tribes and whatnot fit into countries that they didn't get along with. That's where it stems from. It's not just the past 10, 15 years. It's there, then you go up to Israel when we put them in there, then you go up to when we overthrew democratically elected Iran government and put the Shah in, and then we backed other. There's so many things that go into that have created terrorists and have created that. It didn't just happen just in the last 10 or 15 years, 9/11, or 9/11, sorry, and it didn't just happen then. It's been going on for 100+ years. But I wouldn't say that ISIL or ISIS really stems from Guantanamo. I mean, how many people from Guantanamo have been released?
Say that again?
How many people from Guantanamo have been released?
I don't know the exact.
I don't really think it's that many.
Yeah, as soon as you find out the exact number, we'd like to know. It's a whole lot of stuff we'd like to know from Washington.
Well,
This
no,
guy
that's
won't
not-
tell us nothing. Are you
that's
going to
not-
be the guy that starts telling us something? You can call this guy 10 times a week. He'll give you the same old song and dance, give you an 800 number, and you can call somebody else. Okay? We need to know the numbers. We need to know the terrorists are already here in America. You say you don't like to fight. Will you fight them in Virginia?
Well,
They're
if somebody's here, then yeah, of course I am.
Yeah.
But the thing is that the issue is that our foreign policy has caused this.
Yeah,
And
but the people
whether
that
you
you're
like
going to
to
go
hear
over
that or
there and
not,
serve
that's the
with are in direct denial of that very fact. Okay? They're not going to think that they're already here.
It could be here. I don't know. I don't have the intelligence. Do you have the intelligence on that? Do you know for sure?
Oh, no, I don't know anything about it. The borders are secure. Everything's groovy, bro. Everything's fine.
No, I mean, like I said, the drug war has a lot to do with that, and our foreign policy has a lot to do with that. We've created our enemies. We create our own enemies, and then we back other enemies, and then we're fighting them. I mean, it's a bad cycle. And if you really think that our foreign policy is not to blame, then, I'm sorry.
Thanks.
Yeah, I was wondering, do you favor the fair tax or the flat tax, either one of those? Second question, on the border, what would you do about that whole mess down there?
Well, with tax, I like to see tax as close to zero. Income tax, I think we can cut the income tax and go back to 1992 spending. I think we had a pretty big government back then still. So personally, I'd like to see zero. I definitely would advocate to reduce taxation as much as possible, get rid of all the loopholes. It's such a convoluted system, and it's set up that way for certain reasons. And then as a border, like I've said, a lot of our border issues stem from our drug policy, our drug war.
Well, we have people coming into this country, admittedly for a better life, but we just can't have the whole world coming in here. That's the problem.
How do you
Well,
know
not the
they're
whole
here,
world's going to
Steve?
come here.
How do you know they're here?
Well, you've got all these radio stations gibbering in Spanish, There's one thing. I don't speak it.
Our country is founded on immigration. I welcome immigrants. I think if we open it up more, and it's kind of a protectionist kind of. It's not. I think our country is built on this, and we got to embrace immigration. Immigration is not just all people that are coming over the border. Immigration affects people that are surgeons, that are higher level people that can't get in here because of the convoluted immigration system that has been broken for a long time because of both Democrats and Republicans.
Well, my own concern is people waltzing in here without any effective enforcement. If we want to set up a system to look for the most talented, that would be fine.
Do you think that we need more low-level workers to make America into a more successful country? Because a lot of the times what you have, and I used to actually live in Harrisonburg, I have a house in Massachusetts Springs. I used to work for Serco and I worked for USCIS. We worked something called the Bond Backlog Action Team, where we were essentially looking at things that were done by illegal immigrants that weren't necessarily, weren't legal, essentially, and there was a bond backlog. If low-skilled, low-wage labor was something that you could build a country off of, then Mexico would be on top of things.
Yeah.
Well, Mexico is actually one of the fastest developing economies in South.
Mexico has a very strict immigration policy. We don't want to cross their border illegally.
We're going to miss that. How come Americans aren't breaking their fence down to get into there?
I get rid of NAFTA.
Yeah.
Sending jobs to China, probably Mexico.
Because it's a dumb little country and you can't own a gun down there.
It's a lot of tough positions. We appreciate you coming down.
Any other questions? I'm happy to answer anything, even if I don't agree with you.
You're saying we create our own terrorists as far as Al Qaeda. That's a joke. We did create the CIA. The CIA created. Bin Laden was in bed with them, and his family was living in New York, and we did create them to fight the Russians. And came came back to bite us in the butt, pretty much.
Exactly. That's what happens. We back people, and then there are enemies. You know, there are friends, and then there are enemies. So we need to stop meddling with countries' affairs. Those countries have a vested interest in protecting themselves. You know, if something was going on in our neighborhood, would we expect another country to come in and take care of it? No, we don't. We can't afford to be the police of the world. And it's just, like I said, we cause more enemies. We need to open up free trade and have friends. And you don't bomb or attack your trade friends. So you just need to be friends with people. That solves a lot of issues.
What do you think about putting our military on our borders instead of protecting someone else's borders?
Well, I don't like the idea of closed borders. So.
But I mean, it's almost like a double-edged sword, because you're saying we should be non-interventionist, kind of let the world mind its own business. But if we have open borders, guess what? It's here, whatever it is, wherever it's coming from. And I mean, this Ebola thing. Hopefully, me and this guy were just talking about the swine flu thing. Hopefully, it just blows over and it's nothing big. But I mean, that is almost a direct result of the ability of somebody from another country to come into this country without getting quarantined, screened, or anything like that. I mean, we screen pets that come to the country better than we do people.
Yeah.
And if you're saying we need open borders, then you are de facto a supporter of that type of mentality. So my question to you is, I'm sure maybe, I mean, if you follow the normal news, it's never going to become anything big, but you know, things like Ebola or ISIS in America, if you follow some line of thought, an open border invites that. Are you saying that it won't come, or that you have some other plan to deal with it if it did?
I don't think an open border, not necessarily that I think that everybody should waltz in and out. I think they should allow people to move, but you know who's coming in and out. But open borders have nothing really to do. If terrorists want to attack us, they're going to come in no matter what. And what we need to do is listen, just like the 9/11 report, they said that we have military bases in Saudi Arabia and other Islamic places that they don't want us there. Would we want somebody to have military bases in the U.S.?
Good point, but 13 of those hijackers would have been out of the country if the U.S. had been following its own laws. They would have already been deported.
15 or so from Saudi Arabia, so we go attack Iraq and Afghanistan.
Exactly. I mean, but that wouldn't even happen if we just mind our own business. Stop meddling with other countries' affairs.
So we need to get out of all these treaties we got with people.
Yeah, we've got a treaty to protect.
I mean, we already have international forces in America. I don't know if you're aware of this. Have you heard of NATO, NORAD, CENTCOM?
Yes, sir, I have.
All of these international troops are here in the United States right now. So we're going to just get rid of all of these treaties that we've gotten up over the last 100 years or so and tell them, okay, you all go on back to your place and we'll just stay here. Is that your position? You're a non-interventionist, non-internationalist, just strictly for America, but you want open borders. Okay.
I'm for like backing out of a lot of these treaties. Like we have a treaty to protect Ukraine, and Russia has a treaty to not attack them.
Can we show some respect to other people who have their hands raised?
Oh, I haven't seen anyone else have their hand raised. Did anyone?
I asked two.
No, go ahead.
I've noticed 2 or 3 others.
I apologize. Go for it.
How would you have treated the situation Thomas Jefferson dealt with the Barbary pirates attacking shipping? I mean, would your non-interventionist not have built the Marines and sent them over there to stop it?
Well, I think that you need to defend and protect, U.S. trade and U.S. citizens. And I'm not really geographically, I'm not too familiar how far away Barbary is, but I definitely believe
Southern Africa.
Southern Africa.
Northern Africa.
Well, I don't really.
The shores of Tripoli,
Okay. No, but
well, the point to that issue was that trade ships, passenger ships, couldn't pass through there safely because Muslim pirates were attacking them, taking their stuff, and then wanting to hold the people for ransom. And they basically issued an edict to the United States that either we paid them a ransom or they were going to keep attacking our ships. So, I mean, that was why Marine Corps was formed and put on Navy ships and sent over there was to put a stop to it.
Right, well, I don't know all the specifics of it. I don't know how much the ransom was. I don't know how many people died. You know, that's kind of a, I don't know the answer to that. I really don't. I don't know all the specifics of that situation.
I think the theory is going towards the non-interventionist.
Yeah, it's not really the specifics as much as understanding the theory. Yeah, what principle you're applying in these situations. That's I guess what I'm trying to understand.
Well, like I said, I don't like the idea of meddling with other countries' affairs. I do like the idea of protecting U.S. citizens. So, like I said, I would have to see that situation, but I would definitely, if somebody's attacking U.S. trade ships or whatever, then you take care of that. But also, nowadays, with technology, we have the ability, or private companies have the ability to take care of themselves as well. And I think if you free that up, that allow private companies to take care of themselves, not rely on the Coast Guard or the Navy, then you may have, you know, I mean, you look at now, pirates are deterred with private forces on cargo ships and such. But like I said, for that situation, I mean, I can't answer specifically because I don't know all the details for that.
Well, I like the idea of letting them defend themselves. I mean, the maritime laws that we're a party to prevent that. And would you be in favor of backing out of that so that we could let U.S. shipping, whether it be passenger, private, or you know, goods being shipped, allow them weapons on board to fight if necessary?
Why would not allow them to have weapons?
I'm sorry?
Why would I not allow them to have weapons? I'm not the king, number one, but also I'm for gun rights and for self-defense. So if any means, they should be able to defend themselves.
Cool.
Anything else? I know we don't agree on everything, but at least you know, for the most part, where I stand, and that I'm not going to sell you out for lobbyists. So I really appreciate it. This is a great opportunity, like I said, to send a message to Washington. If you're really, truly about constitutional conservatism, then this is a great opportunity. So thank y'all.
Thank you for showing up. Do you have a minute to stick around if someone wants to talk to you?
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Once again, thanks. Thank Will. I'll give him a hand.